Good afternoon, everybody. This is Daniel with Peace and Plenty Farms. I'm out here this afternoon. I want to do a video just talking about waterers, pros, cons. I've tried them all, and I want to show you the system that I've come up with. So this right here, you can see this is my what we call the row houses right here. So this is 12 cages, and it's about 50 feet long, and we've got the J feeders and the hay and all that right here. Let me turn the camera around and I'm some of the different things that we have tried and the setups that I've got on different things. Well, hello. How are you? Okay, so what we have, this is a bowl. So we've tried the bowls situation, and what I did with this is I actually drilled a hole in the bowl to keep the rabbits from picking it up and turning it over. They want to pick it up, they want to turn it over, and so I did that to keep them from turning it over. And right here I've put a screw on this side and on this side, on the left and the right, and that way the bowl can slide around and they can't pick it up. If they push it over, it's going to catch on the screws, and this way also. The drawbacks to this are this is kind of sharp. It could be, I usually have a little rubber piece that goes on there, but they eat that. So you have to have a metal bowl to keep them from eating it. But you have to come along and fill this on a pretty regular basis. They put their feet in there and get it dirty. See, look, there's already stuff in there. So the water gets dirty really fast. So you constantly have to come by, open the door, and dump it out. And you need to take into consideration the time that it takes to do this, because if you're going to, just this one row house is 12 cages, and then behind me is the condos, and there's another 16 cages over there. And I want to build another building that is 12 cages right in a row on the top level and 12 on the bottom level, and then another 24 on the other side, 2 rows of 12s. So time is really something. You have to come along, and if you have to wiggle and get this rusty hinge open, get in here and clean out this bowl, you know, dump it out, wipe it out, and refill it, that it's time consuming. And of course, freezing is a problem. It freezes over and they don't have water to drink because it's frozen. So it does knock out easy. The ice does knock out of here easy. You can turn it over in the sun for just a few minutes and the ice will fall out, and you can fill them up again in the winter. So that's one design that and sometimes I'll use it if something's going on with any of the other designs. I'll come and use this, put water in it or food or whatever. And then you've got the nipple type waterers, whether it's a bottle or this tube that's feeding it. Now, this water is coming from the roof of the house into the gutters through my rain gutter filter into tanks under the back deck, and then I've got a line buried coming down the hill to the rabbits here. The problem with this one is they eat the plastic. As soon as the water gets a little bit low, they start eating the plastic, and then the water drains out. And I went to the trouble of running a piece of wire. You can see where I drilled a hole here and here, and I fed a piece of wire through there so that they would quit eating the plastic right there. But then the problem is they sometimes, this little piece that they push on will get stuck, and you don't know that they don't have water. It's hard to it's hard to notice that they don't have water. It's not very reliable. It's not very reliable on keeping water available, and it's also very unreliable on draining the whole system. They eat a hole in that, and they can drain the whole system. Also, that valve. Now these were really inexpensive. I got them off of eBay, but the little tiny valve that's in here goes bad very easy, constantly. So then I tried to upgrade to a more expensive one, and they were like $10 or $15 for one or two of these. And you start doing your multiples, start doing your math, multiplying it by, 50 cages in my new building, and 12 cages here, and 16 cages behind me, and all the various places that we're, adding them in. It gets pretty expensive. That's not counting the lines and here's the hookup right here coming down. It's not hooked up anymore, but all these plastic lines, all these fittings, look at all the way down through there. And of course, freezing. There you go. There's no way to keep this warm. There's no way to keep it from freezing. And all it has to do is freeze up one time in the winter, and there's no way to unthaw it. You think it's not going to freeze over one night, or you forget, and it freezes. Unless you're going to take it all apart and disassemble it and thaw it out, there's no way to keep this system from freezing. So let me show you a couple of other ones that I've tried and some of the pitfalls that I've had. So this is a real common pet waterer that goes in right here, and I still use this design up here with these rabbits. The problem with this one is they eat the edge. They eat the plastic right there, and it has to be screwed down. So this one is actually screwed down to this block of wood. There's a block of wood right here, and I had to mount that piece of wood and then mount this plastic piece. Then I can change out this waterer. The problem is, if there's dirty water in there, mosquitoes and everything get started really easy. You have to wash it out, and you're back to your time problem again. You're spending too much time washing out and cleaning it because it's screwed down, and then putting fresh water in there. It's too time consuming. And of course, they eat the plastic, and that's not good. So they'll eat the plastic down, and then of course the water all drains out, and you don't have any water for them. So that style hasn't worked. Now here's another style that I've tried, and I've got a bunch of these. This is a shorter version of it, but there's taller versions. I guess they're got to be more than 5 gallons, 6-7 gallons high. And the problem with these is this little lid keeps breaking, and I've tried to cover it. I cover the whole water can with an old feed bag to keep the sun from shining on this lid and causing it to crack, and to keep the algae down. But you have to be careful that the bag doesn't get into the water down here, because the water will actually siphon out right through there. So the bag needs to be strategically folded to stop, right about there. So these little feeders, number one, the lid breaks, and so far this year I've broken 5 of them. Even at $10 a piece, over $10 a piece, you can't do that. You can't make it replacing these things constantly. And I've only got 2 of these this style waterer out, and I've broken 5 lids this year so far. So like I said, we've got the bag over them. We've got them under the shelter. We've got, and they're still breaking. Mainly because of the weight. In the taller ones, the amount of water pulling down on this, the little nipple that feeds out into the watering area, the weight that's pulling on it, it just needs a little bit of pull, a little tiny bit of air through here, and it'll just keep going. So you have to have a super tight seal right here. Now what we've done is, it came with one seal, but they sold extra replacement ones at the hardware store, so I bought an extra one and put it down here. But the problem is this area right here. When they molded this, there's no threads here. So this is where the air is getting by at, right there. So another thing we do is we'll run Vaseline around the inside of the threads right here. But even that, with this space right here, the air is pulling through and pulling by, and of course it just runs out. You go out there and you fill these things up, and you drag a hose out there and you fill them, and the next day they're empty because you didn't get a good tight seal, or you've got a crack in the lid or something like that. So these haven't worked out, and you're talking hundreds and hundreds of dollars invested in trying these. Same with the other little waterers. You know, these things were like, at the time, they were like $10 or $12 a piece. They're probably close to 20 now. And, you know, I got one for each cage. You know, all the cages had them. And now they're in the trash pile. You know, they're down here. If you look, there's about 10 of them thrown in the trash right over there. They're not any good. Okay, so let me show you. I left her cage open, but she's still in there. Let me show you what I have found that works the best for me is these rain gutters. So here's the gutter right here, and you can see that it runs the whole length of the building. Now, it was kind of tricky, you know. I would feed a 10-footer in there, and then attach, you know, pop rivet and caulk another one onto there, and then feed it in. And I just pushed it all the way down until it went the whole 50 feet, and it was fed in there. Now, some of the advantages to this are, one of the big advantages I found out by accident is this is aluminum, and the water in there actually cools down this aluminum, and they will climb up there and lay against the aluminum right up here. So I've got this piece of wood in here just so that they can rest their feet, because down here is just the wire. But up here I've got the plywood, and they can rest their feet up here and lay up here. Well, they'll lay close and tight against this aluminum to get cooled off. And so that was a unique advantage that I found with these, that they can cool themselves off right there. So that was a good idea there that we found. Another thing that I did was kind of haphazard, but I've got this gutter right here, which runs the full length of the building. It's got the leaf guard on it, and I've got it rigged up here where it brings the water into this other, I've got the cap off here right now, but it dumps the water into the trough right here, and that will fill it. It doesn't always fill it with the best water, because there are giblets from the trees and the roof and all that. So sometimes I have to kind of clean it out a little bit more often with the roof, when I'm using the roof water, but that saves my well water. So sometimes I'll do that in the summertime especially, and just clean it out more often. Okay, another big advantage to this full length 50-foot watering gutter idea is I don't have any problem with it freezing, because I take a heat element, a pipe wrap heating element that you wrap your pipes with for the winter time, and I have fed it through this pipe, and I put a bunch of holes in it so the water can get in there, and I can stick this pipe down into the gutter and plug it in, and it will keep the water just warm enough to keep it from freezing. Now, this is a short one. This is a 10-footer or a 12-footer, something like that. And I'll actually make sure that this is in the water also. So, because this is the thermostat piece right here. And then what's nice about these is it has a yellow glowing light inside to make sure that it's on. So this particular one that I'm showing you here is actually for this gutter right here. And I have another one for this gutter over here. And then I have a 50-foot one, which I haven't gotten out yet. It's 100 degrees today. Worrying about the water freezing is not a problem. But I have a 50-footer, and it's inside of a pipe. It's inside of a pipe that rolls up. So it's just like this, but it's a roll, big roll, and the heating element is inside that. And that is sufficient enough to keep the gutter from freezing. And the length, the length that you've got across the back of the cage, I think these cages are 45, 46 inches long, and that gives them a lot of water. They've got plenty of water right there. And I wanted to show you one more feature down here as far as how to do the clean out. So what I've got is on the end right here is a plug. This is a plumbing. They use this in plumbing for testing the water in pipes, the pressure and everything. And what it is this is the piece This is the piece right here that's dropped down into the hole. There's a hole drilled there. When I drilled the hole, I drilled it the size a little bit smaller than this. So it's actually drilled to where my fingernail is right there, that size right there. So when I tightened this down, it created a little flange. It bent the aluminum into a little flange right here so that I've got a tight fit on the aluminum, which is kind of a 1/4 of an inch or so, laying against this area where my thumb is right there, laying against this area of the pipe, what would you call this, tester. And then I just, you know, screw it on with this. This is the rubber piece that goes right there. It just pulls it down. Doesn't really seal it. It's not used enough for a seal. This is the piece that is right there on the rubber, drawing it tight. And then this is the nut that tightens it all up, just like that. So I'll take that off. If it's raining, I'll let it run, let the roof water drain into it and run through, and that'll drain. Well, that's just some of the quick ideas that I do on water and the bowls, the bottles, the big 5-gallon containers, and I've got a bunch of them. I mean, look, underneath this chicken coop, here's one of the containers pulled out with all the different types of waterers. I've tried these. The rabbits ate the top edge. They would eat the top edge of this style waterer. So I made all these little wire pieces and I recalked these and tried that design. They just eat right through that. Here's more baskets of different types of water feeders, and there's plenty of different chickens are hiding, all kinds of waterers up there. So probably, well, I'd say $1,000, couple of $1,000 in trying to figure this out, and I think the rain gutter is the best way to go. Well, I hope this video helps you all, and keep in mind that it's about to harvest, and I want everybody to have a great day. Thanks.